I'm Tamara Lackey, and I'm a portrait, commercial, and editorial photographer out of Chapel Hill, North Carolina. I got into photography because I wanted to capture the people that meant the most to me, and what I figured out early on is that I was horrible at photography, and I really needed to figure out what I was doing. So I did a lot of self-education, got really intensely into it, and found that I was able to match what I was looking for with what I could capture. An average day in my life would be walking to work, getting a lot done photographically, and then going home and parenting 3 children and my 4 pets, and the rest of the heartbeats that live in my home. The first time I ever picked up a camera was right after my daughter was born. I would just sit there and stare at her, and she was gorgeous no matter what she did. And I wanted to photograph her, and the photographs were just terrible. And so I started figuring out what to do with that and started photographing more and more people in more and more scenarios. And I really dove into how can I work in all the most challenging lighting situations, and all that training early on had a huge difference in my ability to grow my business and be able to feel tons more confident no matter what the situation was that I was in. My style is extraordinarily focused on expression, on authenticity, on spirit. When I'm shooting, I am ridiculously overcharged and super energetic, and I'm trying to push all that out on my clients to get things back. And there's other times where I'm just like crazy mellow and very soft. And being able to do that allows me not only to capture what I'm looking for, but also to really see what I'm experiencing. I can see that is the cheesiest, fakest smile, or that is your strained smile that probably passes most of the time, but I can see the tenseness in your jaw and all that sort of stuff, and I don't stop working till I get what I want. My favorite subject to photograph is actually the energy that a subject brings. I am actually looking for a way to showcase people in as flattering a way as possible. How do I deliver to you a photograph that you like? That's not just what I think is cool. And that combination gets really tricky because you have to direct your subjects in a way that allows them to be as much themselves as possible, but under the guise of how they look best. "13 years ago now, we adopted our second child. So our first child, biological, born in San Francisco. We moved to North Carolina, and we knew we wanted to adopt. And we went to Ethiopia, and we met our 9-month-old son. And while we were there, we stayed in an orphanage. And it was my first real experience with orphans. And you really get a sense when you are day in and day out of what that life is like. In that scenario, it really struck me what it meant to be without family. We had this realization that we wanted to be able to work in a way that made those children feel less alone. And at the end of the day, we're all more beautiful together. And so we ended up having this idea years ago, but kind of went down the path of working with existing charities. And it got to the point after about 10 years where we just really wanted to do very targeted things. In this one, their bathrooms are a mess. Like, these children have it hard enough, and they don't even have the dignity of clean, safe bathrooms. We got some price estimates, and we found out that it would be $7,200 US to completely renovate these 2 bathrooms. And at the end of the day, when we were done, we were able to have enough funds left over to help spruce up a kitchen and repaint big chunks of the orphanage. We had already formed Beautiful Together as a nonprofit 501c3, and we were doing things here and there for existing organizations. But now we thought, wow, why don't we just tackle these projects in a really tangible, specific, targeted way? And since that first project we did, we've gone on to do 9 more projects. We've set up 4 funds that are really sit their base to be able to support something. It kind of just all started rolling together. One of the more impactful ways I could help children who are waiting for families or without families was to photograph them in a way that made other people better see them. And what we would do is every time we would be in a situation like that, we would offer to photograph the children and then send those images to adoption agencies or programs that were looking to have people sponsor these children. And that kind of took on a life of its own. So I started realizing project after project after project that photography could absolutely fuel care, which translated to dollars, which translated to real change. I shoot primarily with the Nikon D5, the Nikon D810, and initially the D800. What I have found is so important about good, reliable gear that's durable and that's consistently good is that you're able to get in situations that are normally problematic and be able to completely count on what you're using.
Hey, they're ripped anyway. He's licking me. Oh my gosh.
The
Ears.
most impactful image to me that I've ever taken was we were living in Ecuador. We were there for a couple months. We were adopting our then 3.5-year-old daughter from an orphanage. When she first came home, she was just a spunky little thing. She was really standoffish with the rest of our family. And so we, at one point, about 3 weeks in, we rented a car and we're driving back, and I have the camera on my lap. As we're going, I just kind of glance over my shoulder, make sure everyone's okay. They're all sleeping, but they're all completely together. And it was the first moment we ever saw our youngest daughter allow the other two to be with her. And not only were they completely together, the way their arms were actually formed this perfect heart. And it's like the perfect blend.